Hello everybody. Today in 1966, the Aberfan disaster killed 116 children and 28 adults. One of those huge mountains of slag that surrounds coal mines collapsed and tipped over a school. And the miners who were working below ground came up, and a reporter who arrived shortly afterwards wrote this. The moment the news reached them, hundreds of miners abandoned the coalface. There they were, their faces still black, save for the streaks of white from the sweat and the tears, as they dug, prayed, and wept. They were digging for their own children. Every so often someone would scream out and there'd be silence and we'd stand frozen. Was that the cry of a child? Sometimes it was, and some were saved. I saw a burly policeman, his helmet comically lopsided, carrying a little girl, her legs dangling, her shoes missing. Thank God she was alive. The men dug all day and night, and all the next day. They dug until there were no more faint cries, and no more hope. And still they kept digging. They were digging for bodies now. And I think Aberfan is worth remembering in that kind of detail, because that's the kind of detail that is being endured by people all over the world. So many natural disasters that cause untold suffering, and the repercussions go on and on, long, long after they've stopped being in the news. And it's worth remembering today those who suffer in that way. And I mention it too because the reporter who wrote that piece was a young John Humphrys, later a very eminent journalist, as you'll know. And he said that that experience had undermined his faith. He grew up in a church, he was a choir boy, but he could no longer go on believing after having seen what happened at Aberfan. And I don't intend in this short video to try and explain the problem of suffering. I can't. It's a mystery. All that comforts me is the knowledge that Jesus, who was, I believe, God in human form, also knew that sense of confusion, that sense of puzzlement, when he on the cross said, "Why have you forsaken me?" How he was asking effectively, can you, a loving God, allow this to happen to me, or indeed I'm sure was included in his statement, anybody. But I mention it too because that young reporter John Humphrys said in writing about this that his faith might have returned in time, but it didn't, and it never will, he implied, because of the way the church is. And so this latter part of this talk is for Christians, really, because the church does let Christ down in so many, many ways. Not only its institution, but also the people like you and me who are in it. And so today, whilst I can't do anything to explain the suffering that so many people experience and link it in with God's love, I can do something about the image that Christianity presents to the world. I can do my part to make sure that what is presented as someone who is a Christian is as near as I can get it to being worthy of the Christ who started the faith. And my contribution to the life of the church, I hope, contributes to helping it to be a rather more worthy agent of Christ, one which speaks out on behalf of the poor, which sets people free rather than imprisoning them in ideology, that brings people genuine comfort and hope.